Most people misunderstand dignity. They believe it is something you prove in confrontation. They think self-respect is demonstrated through dominance, through the ability to overpower whoever challenges them. If someone raises their voice, you raise yours higher. If someone humiliates you, you humiliate them more precisely. If someone questions you, you dismantle them publicly so it never happens again. In the moment, it feels powerful. Your words land. The tension shifts. The other person retreats. You walk away believing you defended yourself. But something subtle has already happened. You were moved, not physically, internally. The moment another person dictates your emotional direction, you are no longer governing yourself. You are responding on command. Most people call that strength. It is not strength. It is reflex. There is always a space between what happens to you and what you choose to do next. It is small, often unnoticed, sometimes only a fraction of a second. An insult lands. A dismissive tone slips into a conversation. A colleague interrupts you mid-sentence. A partner makes a cutting remark disguised as a joke. Before you respond, there is a gap. Inside that gap is your authority. Most people collapse that space instantly. The reaction launches before awareness arrives. The tone sharpens, the defense begins, the escalation unfolds, and because it happens so quickly, it feels justified. But predictability is vulnerability. Anyone who can forecast your emotional reaction can influence it. If I know exactly how you respond when criticized, I can steer you without touching you. That is not power. That is programming. Imagine sitting in a meeting where you present an idea you have worked on for weeks. Before you finish, someone says, "That won't work." You feel heat rise in your chest. Your body reacts before your mind forms language. Your jaw tightens. Your breathing changes. In one version of this moment, you interrupt them back. You sharpen your tone. You defend aggressively. The room becomes tense. You might win the exchange. They may even back down, but your emotional state is now entangled with proving them wrong. In another version, you pause. You let the heat exist without obeying it. You say calmly, "Explain what you mean." The dynamic shifts. You are no longer defending ego. You are gathering information. Same event, different internal posture. That posture determines everything. Provocation works because you are wired for belonging. For most of human history, exclusion meant danger. Rejection meant vulnerability. Your nervous system still reacts to social threat as if survival is at stake. That is why a careless comment can replay in your mind for hours. That is why criticism can feel disproportionately heavy. It is not fragility, it is biology. But biology does not get to dictate your character. Two people can receive the same insult. One shrugs and continues their day. The other replays it all night, constructing better responses in the shower, imagining how they should have responded. The difference is not intelligence. It is anchoring. If your worth is externally negotiated, every opinion becomes a potential threat. If your worth is internally defined, most opinions become background noise. There is also a quieter trap that captures thoughtful people. You believe that if you explain clearly enough, they will understand. If you articulate precisely enough, they will see reason. If you communicate properly, the tension will dissolve. But not all conflict is confusion. Some conflict is insecurity, some is control, some is a need to feel superior. You cannot reason someone out of behavior that is emotionally motivated. Yet many people exhaust themselves trying. They draft long messages, they replay conversations, they refine arguments that will never be delivered. Their peace becomes dependent on another person's transformation. That is subtle dependence. You are responsible for your conduct. You are not responsible for someone else's maturity. The moment you accept that distinction, something stabilizes inside you. You stop managing their perception and start managing your participation. Retaliation is seductive because it feels balanced. If they go low, go lower. If they humiliate, humiliate harder. It promises symmetry. It promises justice. The first time you mirror behavior you dislike, it feels tactical. The second time, it feels necessary. The third time, it feels natural. Gradually, your standards adjust to the environment instead of shaping it. You did not defeat the behavior, you absorbed it. Every time you compromise your conduct for emotional satisfaction, you reinforce that compromise. Short-term victory can create long-term erosion. The real question in moments of irritation is not whether you can win. It is whether you will respect the version of yourself you become in the process. That question removes theatrics. It forces you to think beyond the room, beyond the moment, beyond the applause of onlookers. Boundaries are often misunderstood as dramatic declarations. In reality, they are quiet decisions. Most people do not set boundaries. They negotiate them. They over-explain, they soften. They apologize for having limits. Excess explanation invites debate. Debate invites erosion. A boundary does not require a speech, it requires clarity. I'm not continuing this conversation. That doesn't work for me. I'm unavailable for that. No aggression, no apology, just execution. If the other person pushes, you repeat calmly. Consistency is what makes a boundary real. You are not trying to control them. You are controlling access. When people realize they cannot extract reactions or overstep without consequence, dynamics shift. Either they adjust or their access decreases. In both cases, your equilibrium improves. Silence is one of the most underestimated tools in human interaction. Not the silence of avoidance, but the silence of discernment. Not every remark deserves oxygen. Attention is currency. If you respond to every provocation, you finance the behavior. When someone attempts to bait you in a public setting and you remain composed, continuing as though the remark lacked weight, something powerful happens. You deny the reward. Many antagonistic behaviors depend on visible reaction. Remove the reaction, and the incentive weakens. Silence is not surrender, it is filtration. You are deciding what deserves entry into your inner world. Not every opinion qualifies. This does not mean you suppress emotion. You will still feel anger. You will still feel irritation. Your body will still react. Discipline does not eliminate emotion. It governs expression. There is power in knowing you could dismantle someone verbally and choosing not to. There is strength in recognizing manipulation and declining to participate. There is authority in refusing to descend. The objective is not to defeat difficult people. The objective is to remain structurally intact in their presence. When you stop trying to win exchanges and start protecting alignment, conflict becomes diagnostic instead of destabilizing. Their behavior reveals their structure. Your response reveals yours. If you require dominance to feel secure, you will chase confrontation. If you require validation to feel worthy, you will fear criticism. But if your identity is anchored internally, external volatility loses leverage. You no longer experience every challenge as a threat. Some become irrelevant. Others become instructional. A few become necessary exits. There comes a point where you realize that composure is not passivity. It is strategic delay. It is strength under regulation. It is choosing long-term integrity over short-term satisfaction. When you can leave a confrontation without replaying it obsessively, without rehearsing sharper responses, without wishing you had been harsher or louder, something has changed. You are no longer performing strength. You are embodying stability. You are no longer fighting to appear unshaken. You are actually steady. Most people live in constant negotiation with chaos because they react to everything. Every comment requires a defense. Every misunderstanding requires correction. Every slight requires response. That is exhausting. The disciplined alternative is selective engagement. Govern what belongs to you. Release what does not. Your tone, your posture, your participation, your exit. These are yours. Other people's opinions, projections, and insecurities are not. When your worth depends on applause, criticism destabilizes you. When your worth depends on dominance, provocation controls you. When your worth depends on character, neither applause nor criticism can easily move you. This is sovereignty, not loud, not theatrical, not dependent, stable. The strongest presence in any room is not the most aggressive, it is the least reactive, the one who cannot be easily baited, the one whose tone remains measured under pressure, the one who does not need to prove superiority because their standards are internally enforced. That presence is rare because it requires discipline that is invisible. It requires you to sit with discomfort without outsourcing it. It requires you to let misunderstandings exist temporarily without scrambling to correct them. It requires you to accept that not everyone will see you clearly, and deciding that clarity is not always required for peace. Remaining intact is a daily practice. It is built in small moments when you choose pause over impulse, clarity over explanation, silence over escalation, boundaries over negotiation. It is not dramatic. It will not always feel satisfying. But over time, something solidifies. You become less available for manipulation, less vulnerable to provocation, less dependent on reaction, and more aligned with your own standards regardless of who is watching. That alignment is the real measure, not whether you silenced them, not whether you won the exchange, not whether you appeared dominant, but whether you remained yourself under pressure, because anyone can appear principled when respected. The test appears when you are dismissed, interrupted, misrepresented, or publicly challenged. In those moments, you discover whether your standards are conditional or structural.